Welcome in to the Brave in the Attempt podcast. I'm your host, Wyatt Spalding, special Olympic athlete, health messenger, and public speaker. Today we have with us Dimitri Christakis, who is Chief Health Officer for Special Olympics. Dimitri, how's it going?
Good, Wyatt. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me as a guest.
Yeah, I'm glad we connected. We met at Hill Day in DC a couple, actually now I guess last month, not a couple weeks
That's right.
ago. Yeah, it's hard to believe it's been like a little over a month since that.
Yeah, no, that's right. Time really flies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. And like, this preparation just for a couple of days, and now it's been a month. Dang. But
Well, it was really fun to meet you. You did such a great job. I mean, you were awesome.
thank you. Yeah, it was great meeting you. I'm glad you gave me your card and I could get you on this podcast. That was pretty cool. So yeah, Demetrius, how about you just tell us about where you grew up and how sports and health were part of your life growing up?
Great. Well, I was actually born in New Haven, Connecticut, of all places. My parents were in school there, and right after I was born, they went back to Greece because both my parents are Greek. And I spent the first 5 years of my life in Greece. And then I came back to the United States. Actually, Greek is my first language. So I learned English when I started kindergarten here. So that was challenging.
Oh,
Um, and the big sport in Greece and most of Europe is soccer.
wow.
People start at a very young age back then. And no one played soccer in the United States when I was little. So I played soccer, and then when I came to the United States, it was not a sport that people played uh, back then. So I switched to basketball, and I played basketball from really from the time I was 5 until the time I turned 50.
Nice.
Um, yeah. Well, there comes a point where certain sports for certain people just don't work. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't Special Olympics caliber, but I was okay.
Yeah, basketball's pretty rough. I just had a tournament last weekend and I'm still feeling it from it. So but yeah, that's great that you play basketball. Like, did you like play soccer and basketball in high school?
I played basketball in high school. I played soccer through middle school.
Hmm.
Um, but one thing that's interesting, Wyatt, about when I was growing up, sports weren't really that organized. A lot of kids just played. Nowadays, when I was bringing up my kids, everyone gets into leagues, at a very, very young age. And I think that can be challenging, because it puts a lot of pressure on people to choose a sport super early and can be really competitive. And, you know, I think that can be a turnoff for some people. I wish it were different. And I think that's one of the great things about Special Olympics is that, we make sports fun again, for everybody. And even
Yeah.
though we play to win and we're competitive, it's about being out there and having a good time. And I think that's great.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm doing track. Track's not my favorite sport, but like get you in shape and it's like it's only once a week practice. It's like it's not like it's every day. And I think that's like you said, that's great about Special Olympics is you can do as many sports as you want. And
Yeah. So tell me, what sports do you do? I knew about basketball. You do track. What
oh,
else?
tennis, flag football, and softball. This is like the most sports I've played actually, like five
Good for
because
you.
yeah, so been doing that. And then so like what about you? Like when was the first time you like knew about Special Olympics?
So when everyone knows about Special Olympics, and here's the funny story about that. When I was uh, in elementary school, uh, Mark Shriver was a classmate of mine in fifth grade, and I actually went to a birthday party of his at his house
Oh,
and met
wow.
his mother, Eunice, who, as you know, was that started Special Olympics. So I
Yeah.
knew about Special Olympics a long time ago.
Wow.
The first time, I know, I guess I'm showing people how old I am,
No,
but the
that's a
first,
great connection to have,
uh,
obviously.
but but the first time that I played any part in Special Olympics was when I was in medical school. at the University of Pennsylvania, and the games, the Pennsylvania games, were there at the stadium. And I was in medical school, and they got volunteers, and so I went and volunteered there for a day. So that was the first time I ever saw Special Olympics live, and the first I learned about the health stuff that they were doing, which now is what I do. So that was my introduction.
That's awesome. So you're a chief health officer. Kind of tell us about your journey in health and how you got from just doing other jobs or other professions to now you're the chief health officer at Special Olympics.
So I'm trained as a pediatrician. So I'm a doctor who takes care of children from the ages of 0 to 26. And I have been working at the University of Washington, mostly doing research about how to make people healthier. And again, this is sort of a funny story because I bumped in to Tim Shriver at a conference in Abu Dhabi, and he started telling me about Special Olympics and Special Olympics health. And I had a lot of questions because I was sort of a scientist who researched health and health outcomes. And then he said, "Hey, why don't you volunteer for one of our committees?" And I said, "Okay." And so I got onto one of the committees, and I really liked what I was seeing. Just such a great organization, and everyone's so wonderful to work with, especially the athletes and their families. So then the job of chief health officer opened up, and it was too good an offer to pass up. It's, in fact, the highlight of my career has been being chief health officer. I love it. I love going to work every day, even though most of my work is just walking from my bedroom to my office and getting on a Zoom. But I love it.
I feel like that's a lot of people now. Like, oh, I just get out of bed, and just have to walk a couple feet. So, but yeah. So, like, what does your everyday consist of being the chief health officer?
Well, so technically, as the chief health officer, I'm responsible for the health programming of Special Olympics all over the entire world. And as you know, we're in every country and every state. Now that sounds like an unbelievably big and hard job. And actually it is, if I really every day was responsible for everything that was going on. Thankfully, we've got a great group of people in every state and every country that are doing health programming, and I check in with them periodically to make sure that things are going well and try to help them keep our athletes as healthy as possible. And I think we have some really exciting changes in that regard that are going to make our health programming easier for families and athletes to participate in. But I think already, well, you tell me, what do you think of our health programming? It's my opportunity to hear from an athlete.
Yeah, I think it's great. Like we do, healthy athletes. Like at our spring games, we have the big healthy athlete event, and I think it's great because a lot of times, like I have friends that, they can't get to the doctor, maybe they can't get a ride, or with a disability, you're like I have cerebral palsy. I'm in like some kind of uncomfortable pain all the time, but luckily I have good parents that something really bothers me, they'll get me to the doctor. Well, maybe they don't know, like, oh, this is serious, like, because it's like, oh, I just am sore or tired. And so when we get to healthy athletes, it's like you find out, oh, wow, I need glasses, or I have this foot problem or something. And also, like, I'll be honest, like the finance of just health in general it's tough. Like, you have, like, I have like all this medical stuff. And if I didn't have like the good insurance that I have, or sometimes, insurance doesn't cover everything, like it's hard. Like I had a surgery, like a minor surgery last month to fix some sinus problem I had. And if I didn't have the insurance that the government like lets me have, like I would have to pay out of pocket and then I'd be broke. And it's just hard because like they're like actually working is all part of health, because like I want to work full time, but I can't because I get sick a lot. So I think a lot of athletes deal with that. I had a couple of friends on my Fremont team. A lot of us worked at a grocery store, Hy-Vee, and it worked out because we could work full time, part time, maybe only once or twice a week. Some could work full time, Some of my teammates can work full time, and some of them can only work a couple hours because of
Right.
physical health problems. So
Yeah.
I think help is like really important, especially like, do you see like, what's the importance of like, to you, like the mental side of health too? Because I realize having a disability, sometimes it's hard mentally too. Like just,
It absolutely is. So first of all, Wyatt, thank you for saying what you said. I'm glad that our health programs have been helpful for you. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you answered one of the questions you were going to ask me, which is that physical health is incredibly important, and participating in appropriate sports and using our health programming to help you be as healthy as you can physically is incredibly important. And then you mentioned the mental health. We're in the middle of a mental health crisis here in the United States. 20 to 30% of people have anxiety and depression, and it's higher for people with IDD.
mm-hmm.
So having a healthy mind is so important. And you're right, the challenges that disabilities can pose for some people can really make it, can really be taxing, can be hard on people's mental health. We have a Strong Minds program too to help
Yeah.
identify challenges that people are having and give them relaxation techniques and ways to reduce the stress they have. But I'm really glad you mentioned it, because a lot of times people are scared to talk about mental health, or they're embarrassed to talk about mental health, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way. I don't think it should be that way at all. It's a part of health, the same way, the same way your knee can hurt, your mind can hurt, and we need to address it the same way.
Yeah. And like, having Special Olympics, I think it is hard sometimes to notice the mental health of it, because it's like we're all pretty happy at our events. I mean, we get to
Yeah.
play, see everybody. It's like, oh, that person's doing great. But like let's say you went to an event. So if you went to go talk to a parent or a provider or a guardian or whatever, like that's the person you would really know, like, okay, how do they do outside of Special Olympics? And there are probably quite a few, like, it's probably hard. Like you kind of spend a lot of time alone because you can't get a ride places. Or
Right.
like for me, you're sick for a certain amount of time. So you're in the flow of things. Now you're not in the flow of things because you've been sick for like a month, you know? And but yeah, I think like people like you that do the health, I think that's good, like to ask us questions like that, because like you don't know what's going on at home. Like, I mean, like even like someone that
Yeah.
doesn't have disability, like everyone's got problems, but um
Absolutely.
did you notice that like throughout your time as a pediatrician, just dealing with people with and without disabilities, just the physical and mental toll they went through?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wyatt. It's a big part of the work that I did before, and that the work that I do now. And you're absolutely right. It's really, if you don't, if you don't look, you can't find things, right? So you have to make a point of actually looking. And then once you find things, you gotta try to fix them if you
Right.
can. So
Well, so what was like your first experience with people with disabilities, like from a diagnosis point as a pediatrician? Like, did you have people come in, or like was Special Olympics your first interaction from a health standpoint with them?
Oh no, as a pediatrician, we take care of lots of kids with IDD. And in fact, my most common encounter would be in the newborn nursery, where we would have babies born with Down syndrome. And so from birth that they were going to have, challenges in their life. And it was so important in those situations to tell the parents that this is, congratulations, you have a new baby, and it's wonderful. Um, and to treat them like you would treat any other baby that was born at that time. So, and then, throughout my practice and in the hospital, a big part of the people I took care of had IDD. What I never got to see them do as a pediatrician is compete on the field.
Yeah.
So the most exciting thing about Special Olympics is seeing all the things our athletes can do when they're not sick or not in the clinic. And it's amazing to me. It's so exciting. It's invigorating. It makes me feel positive about life.
Did you ever then get to see someone you took care of as like a baby, then like years later when they're 25, 26, compete in Special Olympics?
I have not had that special experience. I'm sure some of them had. I've
Yeah.
not had that experience, but yeah, that would have been really neat.
Yeah, that would have been. So you say you treat people from babies to 26. Do you
Yeah.
ever have like the people in their 20s, they come back and they're just like way more healthier now than, when they were kids, and what's the feeling of that as a doctor?
It's a great feeling. The neat thing about being a pediatrician is that you do get to see kids grow up and you see them develop and yeah, a lot of times they make, decisions that make themselves healthier as they get older, and especially if they choose to participate in if they work on their physical and mental health.
Hmm.
It's great to see that happen.
So as you like started being the chief officer of Special Olympics, what was it like when you started?
Oh gosh, I I had so much to learn, and I've been at it 6 months, and I'm still learning. Why? I'm learning even from talking to you because you're telling me about your life and your experiences, and that's a big part of my job. I have to learn how I can be helpful to the hundreds of thousands, the millions of athletes all over the world that we serve, and every athlete's different. They have their own interests, their own challenges. Um, and so we have to make sure we serve all of their needs.
Right. So as you have done this for several months, like where what do you want to see in the health industry for people with disabilities that maybe we don't have right now?
Well, the first thing is, we have to figure out a way to eliminate the disparities that people with IDD face when it comes to health. You said this earlier. A lot of people with IDD struggle to find doctors that will care for them. They
Mhm.
struggle because a lot of doctors don't take the insurance that people with IDD have.
Mhm.
And then they struggle because a lot of doctors, quite frankly, would rather not see people with IDD because they feel like they're more work. Um, and I think for people with IDD, they often sense that, and they often have bad experiences with doctors. They feel like they're not respected enough, they're not treated with dignity. Um, and we're working to change that at Special Olympics. Now, it's not an easy thing to fix, but we are working to train doctors to learn better how to take care of people with IDD and treat them respectfully. I didn't learn any of that in medical school. Most medical schools don't have anything about teaching people to work with people with IDD. And I'm very proud to say that some of our health messengers, like yourself, are helping us do that. They're acting as patients in medical schools so that doctors or doctors in training can have real world experience with someone with IDD and learn how to be better doctors for them. Um, so, I would like to see a world where everyone has equal access to medical care and that medical care treats everyone equitably and fairly and respectfully, and that no one's life is shortened because their medical care is less than it could be.
Yeah, like when I go to doctors, what bugs me is if like if one of my parents go and they don't like look me in the eye, or like they don't talk to me, it's like, dude, like I can understand what you're saying, like I'm the one
Yeah,
going through this. And like if they're like I've talked to several people, if they're nonverbal or just have a hard time, like either be patient and wait, or someone will speak for them if they're nonverbal, but just look them in the eye. I think that's what bugs me the most. It's like, man, I'm like 28, man. Come on, like I've been here since like day one in the doctor's office. I know what's going on. Like,
you're
no,
right, Wyatt. You're
yeah,
right, and we need to communicate that better. We need to make doctors be more respectful. I totally agree with that, and it's a one of my 5 objectives. Believe it or not, for my 5 years, the next 5 years is to try to make IDD medical care what I call more affirming, more respectful, and looking our athletes in the eye and
yeah,
speaking to them is a big part of that. You're absolutely right.
yeah. And like having people like you is very helpful because you can speak up for us. And because I mean, let's be real. Like if you would say it instead of me, sometimes people are more willing to listen because you don't have ADD and all that. But it's
Yeah.
like once you get your foot in the door, then you can let other athletes foot in the door, and we could make a change. Because and like to the insurance thing, like yeah, like I've had insurances where like I'd had to find like ways to get on back on my parents' insurance just so I could go to a doctor's appointment, which is kind
That's
of
right.
ridiculous. But yeah. So what have you like from this job? Like what jobs did you have in the past before you came to work for Special Olympics?
Well, I was a pediatrician and I'm a
Mhm.
university professor and researcher. So I teach medical students and residents. I don't know how many of you have seen, the show like Grey's Anatomy. I'm that lead doctor, and then I have like junior doctors on the
Okay. Yeah.
hospital wards that I teach.
Mhm.
And then I do research about how to make people healthier. And I still do that part-time. So I work for Special Olympics and I still do
Oh,
research at the University of Washington. Go Huskies.
nice. What sports are they good at? What's your school
Oh
known
gosh, they
for?
came in second in football this year. They were in the
Oh.
bowl in the championship. They lost to Michigan. They broke my heart. And their women's soccer team is very good, and their women's softball team is always very good.
Yeah, I mean football, they're super good. Like they are they gonna make March Madness one of these years, or what are you thinking for basketball?
Oh gosh, they've been terrible for a long time. I don't know.
Them going
I
to
don't know
the
about that.
them going to the Big Ten though might help their
I
recruitment.
know.
I mean,
I know. I know. That's right. It might help the recruiting, but we're going to get beat up for a while there. You guys are good.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. But so growing up and just going through Special Olympics, who has really helped you in this role of uh, just starting out? You said you'd only been in it for 6 months, you said?
Yeah, I've only been here for 6 months. Who's helped me? Everybody's helped me.
Yeah.
I mean, talking to you helped me. Going to Capitol Hill Day and
Mhm.
meeting all the families and the athletes was incredibly helpful. Talking to all the program directors. But I said this before, Wyatt. Like, I learn so much from being around the athletes themselves and their families. You guys are just inspirational for all of us. I think that's why all of us work at Special Olympics.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, we like to think that you benefit from being part of Special Olympics. We benefit from you being part of Special Olympics.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be around you, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I can't probably speak for all athletes, but I know for some like me, like, we don't go out there just to like, yeah, I'm gonna be an inspiration day. We're just trying to play sports,
I know.
trying to get you guys like you to get us healthy so we can get out there. So
Yeah, but
so
but but you know what? You do it with with enthusiasm, bravery, grit, and joy, and it's about competing. I said at the beginning, I love the fact that it's about competing,
mhm,
and not necessarily winning.
right.
So I think it's great.
Yeah. So like from a year from now or several years from now, where would you like to see the health of Special Olympic athletes be at?
Well, I said we have a long way to go. I want to make sure that all of our athletes are getting all the screening they need, all the referrals they need, and all the medical care they need so that they can put their best effort uh, into winning or playing hard, giving their best effort on the field and off the field, as you said, because the sports you do help you stay healthier, help you work longer hours if you have better stamina, and have a better, happier life.
Yeah, that's for sure. Before we go, this is kind of a sports show too. How do you usually do in your March Madness bracket?
Oh my gosh, that is a tough question. I have to tell you, it's been a long time since I've even been in the money in the end, so to speak. You know, I, I too often go with my heart, Wyatt. I find it hard to bet against teams that I want to see win. How do
Yeah.
you do?
Usually like mediocre, except for like this last year when I joined Special Olympics Nebraska, we did a pool and I ended up winning because I picked UConn.
My God,
Yeah.
really?
And I was like, you do the ESPN one, and I was like in the 98 percentile for like the competition because I picked UConn. But that's what I do. Like, I mean, every weekday night, Saturdays, I watch college basketball. So it is frustrating with my brackets. I fill out like 10 a year, and but they usually don't do great. So, but
It's hard.
I
So I'm
know,
gonna. Well, that's what makes it. That's what makes it madness.
I
But
know, right?
I'm gonna have to. You're gonna have to share your bracket with me in March. We're not gonna be in the same pool, so I'm gonna use your bracket to try to pick my teams. Okay. You
Yeah,
have my
sure.
email.
Yeah, sure.
All
Just
right.
email me anytime. We'll talk March Madness. So,
Okay.
but thank you
All
for
right,
coming on
Wyatt.
and all you do for Special Olympics.
Thank you for all you do, and I can't wait to hear this podcast. I'm going to subscribe to it. Do I get it through Apple? How do I get it?
Yeah, so it's through Apple Podcast, and
Yep.
then it's on Spotify as well. And then we have the Sony Nebraska YouTube channel as well, which will be in the links to this episode. So yeah, I can't wait for you to subscribe to the podcast.
I'm going to
And
do it right now.
awesome. Thanks.
All
Thanks for
right.
coming on.
Take care.
You too.
Bye bye.